Satyamev Jayate. So in this video we are going to discuss the clash of names, that is Bharat versus India. So let's explore. So as you can see, this is India in 1947. The Britishers have left India and these are the new rulers of our country. The very first question they ask themselves is, what shall we call this country? Now, to help you understand, let's say you have created a WhatsApp group. The very first question that you are going to discuss with your fellow admins is, what shall we call this particular WhatsApp group? That's the first question. And the second question is, what shall be the rules that will govern this WhatsApp group? The rules should be something like there will be no excessive posting of emojis, no political messages, something like that. So those will be the rules. To help you understand, let me just provide the link. The name of the WhatsApp group is the name of the country. The rules for the WhatsApp group is called as the Constitution, right? And the admins are the Constituent Assembly, right? Let me repeat again. The WhatsApp group is our country. The admin is basically the Constituent Assembly who are going to frame the rules called as the Constitution. The Constitution are essentially the rules. The very first question is, what shall we call this country? Now in 1949, they had an election to elect the leaders who will be framing these particular rules, right? The elections were held and people were elected to the parliament, or let's say Constituent Assembly, right? As you can see, this is the parliament and this is the Constituent Assembly. Excellent. They are going to frame the rules called as the Constitution, right? Now comes the problem, what shall we call this country? The presiding officer was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chairman. He said that let's call this country as Bharat or India. Now this particular reform was set back by a lot of people. They were not in favor for the name India. They said no India. Bharat is okay, but no India. Because India actually shows that we are still a colonial power, a colonial state of the Britishers. Right? So let's not go with India. Ambedkar said, okay, fine. Then decide yourself what you want to call it. Another member called as Hargovind Pant, who was from Kumaon, he said that let's call this country as Bharat or Bharatvarsha. Again, this was met by opposition. Let's not call it as Bharat. Now, let me give you 3 reasons why the name Bharat or Bharatvarsha was declined by a lot of people. Let's start with this guy, that is Mahavir Tyagi. He said that, see, the problem with Bharat is it essentially excludes a lot of people, let's say minorities. Minorities like Jains, Buddhists, Christians, Muslims will not be happy with this name. It will take away the secular credentials of this particular country. Another reason for the opposition was by this guy, Nazaruddin Ahmed. According to him, King Bharat from Mahabharata is a legendary figure. He was a myth. He didn't really exist according to him. So there is no point of naming a country after a legendary figure. The third opposition was by this guy, Aladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. He said that India as a name is famous around the world. The US knows it, UK knows it, Germany knows it, France knows it. Pretty much every country knows that there is a country called as India. So there is no point of changing the name, right? So what's next? Again, Ambedkar comes with a solution. Let's call it India, that is Bharat. And the reason he gives, because India as a name is not given by the Britishers. Most people had the opposition that India is a name given by the Britishers, which is not true. India is a name that is given by the Greeks as well as the Persians. British didn't have any role in giving the name India to this country. It was given by the Greeks and Persians. Now, there are several videos in my channel that shows the history, how the name Bharat, how the name India, how the name Hindu, how the name Hindustan was developed across the history. Now, to summarize this, uh, not earlier, way long back, let's say around 1500 BC, a tribe called as Bharata tribe resided around parts of the Indus River. The Indus River was fed by 6 tributaries. So essentially, there were 7 rivers around that region, Indus and its 6 tributaries. And this region, in Rig Veda, it is mentioned as Sapta Sindhu, right? Sapta Sindhu, yani ki 7 rivers. 7 rivers. Now, the Persians came around that region and they started mispronouncing it as Hapta Hindu because they can't pronounce the word S. They started calling it as Hapta Hindu. Later, the Greeks also came around that region and they started mispronouncing it as India. So, Sindhu became Hindu, then became India. So, Britishers didn't have any contribution in giving the name that is India. So, to hate the name India doesn't make any sense. It's quite an ancient name for our country. So, Ambedkar suggested, let's go with India, that is Bharat. Now, many members in the Constituent Assembly who were opposed to the idea of India were coming in terms with it. Okay, let's go with India. Now, another bombshell comes. There's a guy called as S.V. Kamath. He proposed that, okay, I'm happy with India, that's not an issue, but let's place the Bharat name in front of India. So ideally we will be calling it as Bharat, or in English, India shall be the Union of States. Now, many people disagreed with it because it looks clumsy. Bharat, or in English, okay, or in English, India. Even frankly, I also don't like it. It looks clumsy. It looks big. So many people were against it. Now, he came with a suggestion that Ireland was called as Irish Free State. Now it is known as Ireland. Earlier it was known as Irish Free State. So people have the right to change their names according to their will. But again, this particular reason was not, okayed, or many people were not happy with this particular stanza, that is Bharat, or in English, India shall be Union of States. That is why finally Ambedkar decided India, that is Bharat, shall be a Union of States. Let's finalize it. This particular line was put into vote in the Parliament or the Constituent Assembly. And finally it became the part of the Constitution. India, that is Bharat, shall be the Union of States. It's clearly written, India, that is Bharat, shall be the Union of States. India and Bharat are the 2 official names of our country because it is mentioned in the Constitution.